Hey guys, welcome back to the Greenback Voyage podcast. I'm your host, Shravan.
And I'm your co-host, Joel.
And I'm your co-host, Krishna.
And welcome back this week. This week, I guess the topic we're going to focus on is the inflection point, as Jerome Powell mentioned. But before we move on to that, let's just highlight some main, topic points throughout the week. I think the first one we got to mention is, banks came out with their quarterly earnings, and they all provided various surprises. I think Goldman was the biggest one out of all of them. And it just kind of shows, how much their profits were fueled by the stock market boom. I think JP Morgan as well mentioned that, the next couple of years for them are proving to be successful, and they hope to increase demand as well as increase supply in both the capital markets world as well as the bond market. So we'll see how that does in the next couple of years. I know you two want to talk about this more, about cryptocurrencies. I got into the coin stock for a bit when it opened at like 380. I got in at like 390. I think I rode it up to like 415 or something, and then I got like stopped out at 410. But it was a good trade for me. I don't know if you guys got into it at all.
I never got into coin, never had the opportunity, because by the time I woke up in the morning, coin was already at like 360, and I was scared that the pump and dump would happen by then, so I never really had the balls to enter.
Wait, it opened at like 11 a.m., fam.
Yeah.
On a weekday.
Woke up late.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I missed out the opportunity because of my shitty sleep schedule, so another opportunity will come.
Yeah. And I know, Joel, you were talking about, I don't know if you invested in coin, but you were talking about investing in some other crypto.
Yeah, we were doing Dogecoin trades last night.
Oh, gosh.
Joel, you want to talk about your Dogecoin experience a little bit?
Well, first I'll address something about Coinbase. So yesterday, Shro and I were looking at the ARC trades, and Kathy Wood has been doing something very unusual. She's been selling a lot of Tesla shares, and she's been adding a lot of Coinbase shares. I think on Friday she sold nearly $100 million worth of Tesla shares, and she bought around $70 million worth of Coinbase shares. So
I think Kathy's concern is well placed, because remember when Kathy Wood said that Tesla would hit $3,000 for a stock? I think she's slowly realizing that that might not be possible, because companies like Ford and GM are coming out with their own versions of self-driving. And while Tesla is still the market leader when it comes to self-driving technology, there is a lot of competition now, and they're slowly improving over time. So the next 10-year target for 3,000 might not be as achievable as Kathy thinks.
Oh, am I hearing some discrepancies in your Tesla arguments?
I think the argument remains intact, but we don't agree with Kathy Wood's price target. We didn't agree on the price target, but we did have a different argument on the sales.
Yeah, but new competitors provide new opportunities for more people to get in and compete against Tesla. I don't know.
If you saw, well, I don't want to go on a tangent here with the whole part 2 of Tesla debate, but if you look at the sales growth, especially the pictures I sent you in the group chat a few weeks ago, they're growing very, very fast. And it's only a matter of time before they corner the market in Europe and China. So I think, but I mean, yeah, we have we have other pressing issues to continue now. So continue on.
Yeah,
I think the first most important thing is who do you guys have your money on, Jake Paul or Ben Askren?
Jake Paul.
Oh gosh,
Jake Paul.
Really?
I don't even want to get into
that.
it.
That dude has been training. That dude has been training, man.
Yeah, but it's Ben Askren, man.
I don't know. I love to hear an underdog story.
I always back for the underdogs, but Ben Askren, he's veteran MMA. He's got a pretty good record. But you guys saw his the fight that made history, right? Where he got the flying knee to the face, and then that kind of just closed off his career. But I personally think I'm kind of rooting for Jake Paul for this, because I just want to see the underdog, and I like upsets. Given our
I can't stand Jake Paul. I love underdogs as much as you, but I can't stand Jake Paul.
He's an idiot, but I still want to see him win.
Oh gosh,
just for the
that would be insane if he wins, man. That would.
You want to talk about someone else that we all might hate though? Bernie Madoff.
Oh yeah, Bernie Madoff, the largest
Yeah,
Ponzi scheme runner, dies
he
at
was.
82. What a
He's the Wall
guy.
Street of Wall Street, basically.
Imagine scamming Wall Street.
Oh man. I mean, it was successful for the longest time.
We got
Gotta
to
give
take
it to
notes
him.
from this.
I'm good. I'm fairly good. I don't want to deal with anything with that.
Nah, I'm trying to
I
become
will
the next
invest.
Bill Hwang. Just want to put that on the record.
Broke?
Oh man, you don't have to say that. We're not talking about the end result. We're talking about the mid.
Oh my God. It's insane how much this guy just scammed investors. I think it was, in the end, it was almost 100 billion.
I was close to
Uh,
like 70 or 60, I think, right?
no, I
Still a massive
think
amount.
they could not uncover, I think, like 40, $50 billion.
Oh shit.
So yeah, they're estimating it's around 100 billion.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, fam. How he ran with this since I think it was 1970. He was running this until
Hmm.
2008, 2009. For so long, he just kept running it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You always
but
find sketchy people in finance.
I mean that you find sketchy people everywhere. You just got to be careful about where you place your bets. In
Yep.
finance, it's difficult because most people don't understand the intricacies of finance and what they're getting into. Life insurance is like another sort of scam where people think they are, going to save up for their future and all that and help out their family, but in reality, it doesn't really happen.
Speaking
Insurance
of life
in
insurance,
itself, insurance
the
itself, not just life insurance, but term
That's
insurance is
true.
also a massive scam. Because
you know,
people who
you,
come as travelers on
mhm.
term insurance, they're just paying for their premiums, right? Hoping that they'll get covered in sorts of emergencies, and then only 1% of claims are ever like actually paid off, while 99% are just thrown out for ridiculous reasons. So
Hmm.
insurance in general, there's a lot of scams in that industry.
Yeah, I think so. A lot of pyramid schemes, right? They actually target these life insurance policies that combine. It's named like the index accumulator or something like that. They tie like life insurance with a investment policy, and it's a huge target for a lot of these pyramid schemes out there that have like these selling quotas for these policies. So
Yep, and a lot of her parents are actually subject to such pyramid schemes. Like I know my dad's friends have gotten themselves stuck in this new life insurance policy called
yeah.
IUL,
Yep.
which
Yep.
is like I forgot the full form of IUL, but it's essentially like a life insurance policy which gives you
Hmm.
like 12% returns every year, and there's no downside risk. But if you
Yeah. Yeah.
really
They
look
cap it
at
off, right?
the if you look at the real results, right?
Hmm.
In most years your like gains are capped to like 4%. You're not really
Because
beating
it's
the
the
indexes.
fees. It's mainly the fees. That's all it is.
Yep, and
It's
it's
the same
almost
with
like impossible
401.
to sell that stuff because like half the
Yeah.
population they know what's going on, so they're not gonna buy it. So the moment you're in that selling quota, you've paid all your fees to get your licenses and all of that, you're
Hmm.
already at a net loss, and it's very hard to come out of that.
Yeah, it's the same with 401k in essence. But I think we can skip that topic for now. I think we don't want to rant too much about how our
Insurance.
retirement system works. I think what we need to focus on more is what we're here to talk about, which is inflection point. So I know Powell on like 60 Minutes, he had a pretty nice office, had a shovel. So I don't know what the point of that was, but he talked about how America was in inflection point, and this was the time to see whether America can truly rebound from this coronavirus crash or whether we will keep on, fading into the economy. And I think one of the main figures that was highlighted was the CPI rose like zero point 0.6 for the month, and now it's up, I think, 2.6 year over year, which
Yeah,
is
retail
insane.
spending was insane. I think the last report,
Yeah,
huge spike.
yeah, I think it was up like 10%, and consumer confidence is, spiked up as well. I think this is all coming off the stimulus checks and all. And many strategists out there, many analysts are saying, invest in financials, invest in industrials, invest in energy. More people are going to start rotating their funds into these sectors. I think especially industrials with Biden's new infrastructure plan. In essence, it might be short term, it might be long term gains, but they will start to spike up once more people start talking about it.
Yeah.
And one of the major like backlashes of increasing CPI is inflation, right? Because CPI directly contributes to inflation.
Yeah.
So over the years, if our CPI does continue to increase at an irregular pace, because we are injecting a lot of artificial funds into the economy,
hmm
right? So if the CPI does continue to blow up like this, we could see some significant inflation figures in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there was this year, but from what I'm hearing from the Fed, most of them, including Powell and I think the Missouri Fed, they're both saying they want to keep inflation above, or CPI at least above 2.5 for at least a year before they focus on any type of measures to decrease it. But
Yep.
yeah, I think other than that, there's a new American Airlines JetBlue partnership that's coming under major scrutiny over the DOJ. I don't know if you guys can talk more about this,
I
but
actually talked about it a little more in our last special. Remember when I
Mhm.
talked about how there was hyper regulation in the airlines industry and that kind of reduces competition?
Yeah.
And now with this American Airlines JetBlue partnership, it's kind of narrowing down the market even more. So first you had like an essential oligopoly, right? You had four major airline industries in the US, and now with two major ones kind of merging, right, with a partnership, that's going to reduce competition even more. And especially with the significant amount of regulation, it's going to be impossible for new vendors to come into the airline industry. So I really hope the Justice Department chooses to not allow this because it's honestly a step backwards for the airline industry.
Isn't this more of an FTC thing? Why is the DOJ coming into this?
Because they do need to verify certain legal proceedings with the merger or partnership, right? So that's
hmm
kind of why the Justice Department also has a say. For example, if you look at Disney's and 20th Century Fox's acquisition in 2019, the Justice Department had a significant say to approve the merger. So without the Justice Department, you literally cannot approve of merger or partnership.
Okay. All right. Yeah, hopefully, I guess, who is it? Who's the new chairman? I think Simmons, right? I don't know. Hopefully he's
I
better
actually don't
than,
know. Yeah.
I think it is Simmons, Joseph Simmons or something.
Hmm.
Uh, or no, I think he might have been the previous one. Who's the current one?
That's
Huh.
besides the point, though. Speaking of new chairmans, we have a new SEC chairman confirmed. His name's Gary Gensler.
Yeah, we've been talking about him for a while, I think, me and Joel.
Yeah.
Um, he's said to be very strict on policies, especially when regulating the markets. It'll be
Isn't
interesting to
that
see
good?
where he takes it. I mean,
I would like to
it
look at
is
it as a
good,
positive.
but I don't know. SEC, in my opinion, it provides a false sense of security, such that, the American people think that the SEC is regulating the markets when, sometimes, one, they don't even have the manpower to really regulate the markets to its true power, or it just doesn't want to for reasons. That's why I'm hoping Gensler provides some more, I guess, opaqueness or transparency about what's going on within Wall Street, what's going on in the financial world in general. But I don't know. I don't know what you guys think about the SEC.
I actually don't know much about this guy, so I really don't have a prior bias against him. But I'm always for more regulation in the SEC because we don't want incidents like the Bill Huang incident to happen
hmm
again.
Yeah, I'm
So
all for it. It's just that I don't want them to provide a false sense of security.
that's also
Uh,
true.
Either say you're going to provide more regulation and do it with results, or we might as well have no regulation so we can see for ourselves the true nature of the markets. And yeah, I think moving on from that, our last major, I guess, U.S. news is the Johnson and Johnson vaccine, which has had some blood clots. I mean, then again, it's only like 6 six women, right? Out of like,
It's a logistical nightmare though, because even if it's just 6 women, it still strikes fear in people's hearts, right? Because this is a relatively new vaccine.
yeah.
Were told it was extremely safe. They were told that it's going to significantly reduce the backlashes of coronavirus pandemic. So
Hmm.
now when you have all this positivity and hope floating around this vaccine, especially because it's a single dose vaccine, and all of a sudden you have blood clots in the news, that's freaky, right? And now with people shifting, because the government's issuing these vaccines, signing up for vaccines was already like not the ideal setup, right? It's difficult to sign up for a vaccine. The reply times for getting the vaccines are pretty high. There's a huge backlog, and now with everyone not wanting Johnson and Johnson and switching back to the Moderna Pfizer phase, that's going to be chaotic. And I honestly, I'm looking to see how Biden is really gonna solve this because there's already enough backlogs with Moderna and Pfizer. How are they gonna sustain all this new demand shifting from Johnson and Johnson?
They'll
Yeah.
probably so they have deals to sell to other countries, right? So they can do it to Canada, Mexico. Few weeks ago, they sold a good amount of Johnson and Johnson vaccines there, and there's a lot of countries. There's a lot of countries out there that don't have the vaccine too. So um, we
That's
still, I mean,
extremely shady. Like on moral grounds, let's talk a bit about morality. That's just wrong because you
what's
know that
wrong?
the vaccine is potentially risky, right? And the U.S. government, just to kind of clear, like kind of break even, is selling these
Yeah, but
vaccines
listen,
to other
listen.
countries.
It's not like 10% or 20% of the people are getting who are getting the Johnson and Johnson or getting these blood clots, right? It's a single digit number, and I mean, even after the news, I know a lot of coworkers who went in and got the vaccine.
Johnson and
Um,
Johnson?
yeah, like even my manager got the Johnson and Johnson vaccine this week.
Oh my, those guys are ballsy.
I mean, think about okay, so all the people who got the blood clots, what percentage of do you think it's of for everyone who got administered? Is it above 1% or far less than that?
It's very low right now. I think it's
Right,
only
it's
like seven
significantly
or
low.
eight declared cases. But once again, you need to take into account that a lot of people might not be able to communicate their blood clots, right? The second thing is, people might like experience this in the future. Like it could be a long-term effect. So you don't really know fully what the Johnson& Johnson vaccine contains. And you
Right.
also have the issue where the Johnson& Johnson vaccine kind of mixed with the AstraZeneca vaccine and kind of got corrupted. So I think like 7 million doses just got wasted because they were corrupted.
I
So
mean, it's the same
with
with
all,
AstraZeneca, right?
yeah,
Like,
with
didn't they
AstraZeneca.
waste? They wasted, I think, about a third of their own supply before
Yep.
sending it off to both Canada and Mexico.
Exactly. So with all these mess ups in the vaccine industry, honestly, I think Pfizer and Moderna are really going to become the market leaders because people have lost their trust for Johnson& and Johnson.
Yeah, as Warren Buffett says, it takes 75 years to build up your reputation, but it can be destroyed in 15 seconds.
Yep.
But yeah, I think South Africa is actually restarting their J&J vaccine. Like they also, I think, suspended it for about a week, but one, their debts, I think, are like ridiculous as well in South Africa. So they need to just start implementing it again.
A topic I believe we should talk about in the future, but not necessarily right now, is will Africa catch up to the modern world, and how long would that take?
You
That's
mean
a
in
difficult
Africa as an
conversation.
entirety, or like which
Africa
countries?
as an entirety, because they're still experiencing a significant amount of colonial effects because they're still a relatively new, like independent country, right? Compared to all the other colonized countries. So we really need to take a deeper dive into Africa and see how they can industrialize to reach the current technological levels of the world.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other issues at play. It's not like we can just basically say, "Oh, we'll give you some money, just focus on this."
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think South America has a better chance than Africa right now, in my opinion.
Yep, that is
So
true.
I don't want to go off on a huge tangent here, but so there's these countries in northern Africa, right? They don't have the infrastructure, they don't have much money. Their country, the currency might be inflated, and you have countries like China that go in and they give them all this money, in exchange for power or land in the country. I think we can touch that on in the foreign segment that we covered, but that's actually like a very important issue that's happening right now.
China should be a whole entire segment in itself because they're making some big moves.
Yeah, China's kind of become like the global, loan shark with these countries that have not caught up to, the pace that the globe's on. But this is actually what China's doing to, and in like countries near India like Sri Lanka, China's doing the same thing. One of their ports is now completely Chinese owned, and they're going to bring in naval ships and things like that. So it's going to be near India's border. So they're doing this with Latin American countries, European countries that don't have the infrastructure, don't have the money, and they're doing it in African countries and Middle Eastern countries. So that's a huge topic actually.
We are kind of going off on a tangent. How about let's get back to American news, where we have a lot of technology news as well, where Dell stated that it would spin off its stake in cloud software company VMware, holding valued at $52 billion, which is definitely bringing more competition into the cloud sourcing market.
So is VMware going to be just its own company? Is that what they're planning to do?
That's kind of what they're planning to do, yeah. So Dell kind of just backing off from the entire industry.
Wow, that's huge news. I think that entire industry, I mean, you look at Dell, Intel, they're all, I think, and IBM especially, they're all switching their business models to incorporate more, I guess, cloud-based strategies.
Yeah.
Probably going to SaaS-based, service.
Yeah.
Yep, and IBM especially is making some progress on this concept called the hybrid cloud, where it's essentially like an API for cloud, where all third-party applications. It's you guys have heard of UiPath, right?
Mm-hmm.
UiPath is kind of like a software.
I've been talking about it a long time.
So UiPath is kind of like a software where you can customize other stock software. So if you have like custom off-the-shelf softwares like Oracle's Java, for example. I'm taking a very simple example, right? And you want to kind of like add on to a certain like UI element. You can use UiPath to like increase it, right? So IBM's hybrid cloud system is kind of very similar to that, where it's a customization on cloud. So if you have like AWS, you can customize it a little more.
See, UiPath is more tailored towards. So if you look at their certifications, right, the RPA certification stands for Robotic Process Automation. I've used UiPath before. Basically, what it allows you to do, it allows you to automate a website or software, and so you take your mouse, you track the motion, and it'll replicate that for you. So a year back, I think I discussed this with Shro, and I created this Excel sheet that automatically downloaded like the options data and things like that. And I used the UiPath software to go into bar chart. It will click the download button, and it will go to Excel. It will filter out, and it will update onto the sheets, Google Sheets. And this can all be done. So you do it once with manually, and you record that, and then it will do it automatically on repeat. So the whole idea with RPA is that you can get rid of all these very, very minor jobs that are in the IT industry, and you just automate like 20 or 30% of your software development and things like that.
Yep, and it's a very nice business model, because if you look at all the top software companies.
Like, so in essence, this is what both IBM, or I guess just IBM, is trying to go for now.
Yeah, so IBM's cloud is very different from other people's because it's kind of like a customizable cloud, right?
Isn't that what AWS is as well?
No, so
it's
AWS
actually
is
all
a
of them
framework.
Are the same, right?
AWS is like a framework which you build applications on. IBM's hybrid cloud is not really a framework you can build applications on. It's a customization of like a already existing cloud platform. So if you have an application built on AWS, right, and you want to add certain elements to that cloud, that's when you would implement hybrid cloud from IBM. So it's exactly like UiPath for existing software.
Would you say they're a competitor to AWS then?
Not necessarily, no. I would say Salesforce and Azure are prime competitors to AWS, but IBM hybrid cloud is its own business unit.
Okay, alrighty. All right. I think that's all we have in terms of the tech news. I think we can more move on to foreign news where there's
Actually, I
been.
mean, I'd
Yeah, I
like to
mean,
touch
you
on
can go
one
ahead.
more thing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you guys been following Neo for a while, but they have this exclusive partnership with Ford now, and basically Ford cars will now be able to use Neo's battery, uh, uh, their battery infrastructure in China, and it's kind of giving this birth to a new industry space called the BAS, which stands for Battery as a Service. And I think Neo's kind of becoming it's going to be it's going to be on the front in terms of the the industry here. I think they're going towards, how like Neo has like plans to do like this you park your car in this little box and it will switch the batteries under it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they're unveiling their technology and they're actually working on it currently, and they're also going to be giving out the battery infrastructure or the EV recharging infrastructure as a kind of like a SaaS play where you pay like a subscription fee for that. So
That
I think that was pretty cool to see
That's
Ford go with the
huge
partnership.
because if you really look at the battery market for most electric vehicles, right? Most of the batteries are lithium powered, right? Or lithium based. And if
Yeah,
you
all
look
of
at the
them are
total
actually.
lithium based like reserves in the world, I think around 12% of it uh is in Asia, and majority of it is concentrated in South America. Like Argentina is a massive lithium producer, right? And there are shortages for lithium, which is kind of a challenge for the electric vehicle market as a whole. So battery as a service is like a great business model because you're not depending on your own lithium sources. You're kind of like outsourcing it to other companies.
Hmm.
So is Neo, I guess, then competing with more with Tesla now, since they're going to be making their own batteries and shipping it off to American
No.
corporations?
It's battery recharging. The EV recharging as a service, not battery shipping as a
Oh, okay,
service.
okay.
I should have worded that differently, but it's kind of these kind of spin-offs on like the SaaS model, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
TaaS, transportation as a service, BaaS, battery as a service. It's kind of starting to boom right now. I think these would be like huge, disruptive markets that will be coming in the next 2 decades. The TaaS and the BaaS. So
Yeah.
that's what I like
Uh,
to
yeah.
briefly
The
touch on.
only thing I'm worried about with Neo is just, I guess, like Virgin Galactic, they're offering like a lot of shares,
Yeah, they're taking advantage of the
which,
recent rise. Yeah.
yeah, which tends to boost up their own net income. So it's hard for me to like kind of see if they can truly grow in the market. They do have potential. I'm not like saying they don't, but I mean, I'm pretty sure like, what was it, like 2 quarters ago or something? Like they went from like 1 billion shares issued to like 1.2 billion shares, and that's a lot for them to
Yeah, it is.
issue. So
And the other concern I have with Neo is the fact that it's Chinese. I
Yeah.
usually tend not to trust Chinese companies
I
because
think they're more focused on the Chinese and Asian market rather than the US.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
not only that is you never know when like the Congress or like SEC or Biden with his executive orders come out and say we're gonna delist like Chinese stocks off the market or something like that.
yep.
That's actually a possibility in the current like climate between us and China. So um
mhm.
so
Yeah, I mean
that's
they
also a fear
delisted
factor.
China Mobile Limited,
Right.
and like some other Chinese telecommunications company specifically.
Yeah, and
So
also like the Luckin Coffee incident, that also I don't
yeah.
think Neo would be doing what Luckin Coffee was doing, but that also damaged like Chinese stocks as a whole, right? So
Hmm.
You know, in
you're investing in like
retaliation,
an ADR, right? American Deposit was it repository, something like that? You're not
Yeah.
really buying into the company, you're buying into like an entity that
It's
was formed
basically
from the
yeah,
company,
it's
right?
basically an offshore company that they've created
Right,
where
right. So there's a lot
and
of
that's
these
how they're
fear
sending it.
factors, right?
you know,
So
kind of like a safety measure against all this crackdown on Chinese stocks, right? Dozens of Chinese companies have publicly pledged to comply with the U.S.'s like anti-monopoly laws since Beijing like reined in business the empire of like Jack Ma. So like Alibaba is being
That's
cracked down by the
huge.
CCP. So now Chinese companies are scared and they're actually cooperating with the U.S. government. So maybe we won't see a complete crackdown anytime soon.
I don't know. It's
that's
hard though. I
that's
think there
amazing.
needs to be because I mean that's what, US companies said in early 2000s, and then you look at Enron, and boom, that idea goes out the window. So I don't think you can ever trust China fully.
Hmm.
It's why I'll never be investing in any Chinese
Chinese
companies.
companies, yep.
Yeah, unless they get rid of the ADR, be hard for me to like invest in any. Actually, speaking of Alibaba, didn't they get hit with the fine about like
Yeah, we
2.8
covered
billion or
that. We
something?
covered that last few.
Yeah, it's
Last
really
Yeah.
podcast.
funny to see that China is also cracking down on monopolies, which makes no sense because the
No, it,
CCP
it makes
essentially.
total sense, fam.
Well, they're cracking down on it, and they're probably going to nationalize or try to gain more
Yeah,
control
they
into
did
the
it with
corporate
Ant
world.
Financial already.
Yeah,
Oh,
Ant
they
Group
did?
is
That's
pretty
the
much
major
and
news.
yeah,
Because I
Ant Group
remember
is pretty
Ant
much going to.
Financial was like a huge talk on the markets pre-IPO, and then the IPO never happened.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
in
Ant
December.
Group, what happened with Ant Group was, it was going to be the biggest IPO or tech IPO that was going to come out, right?
Hmm.
And everyone was very excited, and Jack Ma was going to be insanely rich. But ended up happening is the Chinese officials cracked down on it, and they forced Ant Group to turn into Ant Financial Group or something like that, and now they'll be overseen by a huge board or some big Chinese entity, and they won't have as much freedom as they did before. So it's going to be kind of like a holdings company right now.
And this is why you never fight against China. I
Yep.
mean, man, he should have just waited a couple more years. There's no reason for him to hold that press conference. Sorry, Jack Ma to hold that press conference back in November and bash the Chinese regulations right in front of them. They had
He
a
also
front row
disappeared for like
seat to
2
that.
months.
I
Oh,
think I think for a Subway employee, I mean a guy who got rejected by Subway, I think he's doing pretty good.
I mean, he's done pretty well. It's just, well, why would you fight against China?
Yeah,
It
not the
makes no
smartest
sense.
in the club,
Yeah.
but he's
But
rich enough so we can't question him.
yeah, it's surprising though. I don't know if you saw Alibaba stock the day after. I guess investors are weird sometimes, but their behavior was Alibaba got off light with a $2.8 billion fine, and their stock price went up, I think like 9% the following
I
day.
don't understand that because remember when Google got fined $3 billion in Europe for data concerns,
Hmm.
right? Google stock plummeted after that, and for Alibaba they get fined $2.8 billion, which is virtually the same amount,
So
and
could
their
it be
stock price
like
goes up.
It's
could,
just
could
investors like they thought, Alibaba was not even going to be listed anymore.
well, I mean,
So
could it be any like buybacks that they did on the
no,
day? I
no,
mean,
no way, no way. No way they instituted their market cap rose like 44 billion on that day, from what I
oh wait,
remember.
okay, that makes sense.
I
Yeah, you
really
said
don't
9%
understand
increase.
Chinese stocks. Like it's impossible to predict their movement.
No, I think it's just investors in the past year with their thematic investing. It's gone off the rails. I mean, at some point we're going to have to come back to fundamentals, but it's going to be tough to
That's probably never gonna
see
happen.
when.
I mean, if you think
Sometime.
about it, we just had a huge shift with retail investors.
Uh-huh.
5x retail investors that just came to the market, and they're investing more. The retail buddy is like, I think, what, 10 times what the previous decade had, or
I don't know. I
let's say.
mean, we're
Let's be real,
saying
like
all
as
this.
a part of the retail investor population, we don't know squat about fundamentals, right? Like
Hmm.
I'm talking about myself, not you guys, but when you don't really have the ground knowledge for properly investing in a stock like the hedge funds do, right? And we can still manipulate markets, that's huge. So honestly, I don't think we'll ever revert back to the phase where fundamentals have
Yeah.
utmost significance
No,
before buying a stock.
I think at some point we will. It's happened in the past, and it's going to happen in the future. Everyone thinks it'll keep going up. I mean, what? You had interest rates in the 80s spike up. Everyone
Well,
thought that was going to go up
see, we're
forever.
we're living in like a huge age of information, right? Let's say you're
Yeah,
like
I
in the
mean, it's the
1980s and you
same.
want to
Yeah,
invest in a stock.
oil was there back then. That was the new thing back then. And then
Right, but what I'm
2000s,
saying
you
is
had the
like
internet. And
1980s, you want to buy a stock, you go on the newspaper,
hmm
you see the quote in the morning, and that's it, right? You don't know
hmm
how the price is gonna fluctuate. No one knows, right? Now you get on your phone, and it's like right there. That
That's
type of
true, but
information.
it doesn't matter how new the technology is. At some point, equilibrium will happen. It
Well,
might take a while
I
though.
think like the stock market as a whole has been disrupted, and I think it's not going back to the fundamental place. I think there's just a huge amount of retail money. in the market. A lot of people are, this is all people on Robinhood, Webull, maybe
No,
using brokerages that are like TD Ameritrade and
I
Fidelity.
It's
I
the
They
era of
don't
pump and
care.
dump. The number of
Yeah,
stocks that have been pumped and dumped, like Palantir early 2020, and then you have GME. You have
I mean
stocks
Neo
like
was even
Nokia.
pumped and dumped.
Yeah, Neo is pumped and dumped too. Like a lot of meme stocks have been pumped and dumped by retail investors, and it's been extremely successful.
Yeah,
right, but
I
I mean, see, most of these retail investors, they don't care about what the fundamental is. They go on some YouTube channel, they study about, oh, this is a bull pennant, oh, this is a bull flag. I'm gonna use the moving averages,
But
and I'm gonna try
the
to do
thing is,
technical analysis.
everyone thinks retail investors are the new thing. Yes, they will cause some uncertainty with the markets. I'm not going to argue against that. That's what we saw with GameStop. But hedge funds, institutional funds, they still control the market. Like,
No, I don't see. A lot of hedge funds are very scared to short any stock right now.
they're
No, no,
scared to
I agree.
short, but
I agree with Shravan in saying that hedge funds do control the market still, but I'm saying the retail investors have significant power now. Like,
oh
sure,
yeah,
they're
Yeah,
not
that
oh yeah.
powerful enough to combat hedge funds, because if you look at GME, right, you have institutions like Robinhood and TD Ameritrade just banning these stocks from being traded for a day, which plummeted short interest.
Well, I'm
So
not
now you
talking
don't
about
have people.
the power imbalance in the market. I'm more talking about the approach to investing. Like, no retail investor is gonna go study balance sheet for the past 5 years, do some valuation analysis. He's gonna look at the stock. He's gonna read about the company. He's gonna determine what the future value is based on what the news is coming out, what he knows about the industry, and he's probably gonna look at some little financial document. But he's not gonna go
I
as in depth as what,
no, I
let's
don't
say, like
think
a
so.
Buffett disciple would be, and that's gonna stay. It's
History
not gonna go
repeats
back.
itself. That's all I'm saying. Everyone in, everyone in the late 90s thought tech stocks were the thing. They put their life savings into it. You look at the Great Depression right beforehand. Everyone put their money into stocks before the market crashed. You look at early 2000s, after the Nasdaq crashed, everyone thought, "Oh, now housing's going to run." And everyone thought housing prices would go up forever. It's the same thing that's going to happen. Everyone will just think that fundamentals are never in play. As long as everyone just keeps pushing it up, then it will never come crashing down. But that's not the reality. It keeps repeating itself. I'm telling you, man. I don't know when it will calm down. I just hope there's not a crash. I just hope there's some consolidation. But yeah, I mean, the Fed is mainly the main player here. That's my opinion.
Speaking of hedge funds and banking, actually, did you know that the U.S. claimed that they will retaliate against Russia due to the whole election, like hacking concerns of Russia interfering with the 2016 election?
I don't
And
know
because
why
of
they keep
that,
going to this.
yeah, but Russia also kind of banned major U.S. bank stocks from trading on the Russian market. So you have like Goldman, Morgan Stanley, all these stocks don't even trade on the Russian market. So it's kind of like a two-way war, but like not
See,
really.
the problem. Okay, Russia's trying to be relevant. Okay, no one cares about Russia anymore. The focus is on China. They're not as strong as us. Our intelligence budget is equivalent to Russia's defense budget. They're just trying to be relevant with what they're doing. They need the attention. I don't think Russia's a big threat to us, financially or in terms of power.
What do you think about the troop withdrawal in Afghanistan, though? Do you think they've ruined it enough so now they just called it quits?
I mean, that's
Troop
what
withdrawal in
Biden said.
Afghanistan or
Didn't
Ukraine? Or
Afghanistan.
are you talking about
in
both? See,
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan. Okay, look, wherever U.S. goes, Russia's going to be there. It's kind of like a checkpoint for us, right?
Hmm.
But one thing that's going to be difficult. I don't know how Biden's going to address this. He's kind of already made a promise how we're going to remove troops, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be. I don't know what the Afghanistan government's going to do with the Taliban. They'll obviously turn to Russia now. So, if Biden is going to do this, there's a lot of implications. Of course, people want, okay, bring the troops home. We need our soldiers back. But there's a lot of policy implications because of this. A lot of things can happen here. And Russia, it's going to be a power vacuum, right? Russia's going to swoop in where U.S. left off of. And
Hey, what did I say before? History's repeating itself, fam. Another powerful, rich nation leaves a country that's still destabilized. I mean, we've seen it in the African colonies. We've seen it happen in sort of India, I guess.
Yeah,
they've
we had the
somehow,
Portugal and the Dutch in, and then the
yeah.
British just came in.
So I'm telling you, history
I
repeats
mean,
itself. That's why it's
right. I mean,
important.
Afghanistan is like, I mean, no one cares about that. If U.S. were to move troops from Syria, that would be a whole different story, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But
definitely.
Afghanistan is completely different. I don't think U.S. government would care too much about that place.
Yeah.
But countries like Syria would be a different story. Like Iraq would be a different story, right? So, yeah. But I mean, if speaking of Russia, I mean the Ukraine situation, 50,000 Russian soldiers are in the border and they're trying to. It looks like they want to invade. I mean, NATO's
Yeah,
issuing
honestly,
warnings.
I'm predicting a Russian invasion of Ukraine because they're making very aggressive movements,
Well,
and
I don't
they've
think
always
Russia's
had their
ballsy
eye on
enough to do it,
Ukraine.
bro. I
Huh?
think they're just trying to do a power play here. They're just trying to, fear. This is what they always do. They try to instill fear. They try to be aggressive, but at the end of the day, I don't think they will do a full on invasion in Ukraine. I don't honestly see that happening.
I mean,
But
we'll
let's
see
be
what
real, this
happens.
is a whole major topic in and itself. It's pretty massive.
Yeah, I
So,
completely agree. I think this is a whole nother topic that we should discuss for another time. It's insane what Russia is trying to do now. Uh, but yeah, like we said, it's another topic for another time. I think we can end it off here for now. I think my phrase of the week is just history is going to repeat itself in more ways than one.
Hey, one thing we should talk about. One more thing we should talk about. Just uh, the situation with Iran.
Uh-huh.
You guys see the new headline? Iran's enriching almost to 60% uranium, and this is
yeah,
prior to
if
major talks with us.
if Iran becomes a nuclear power, most probably Saudi Arabia will also become a nuclear power, and it's just gonna
Oh no,
be
Saudi
bad.
Arabia already started the nuclear program.
I'm
It's
aware,
definitely.
and their nuclear program is entirely a competition against Iran's, and they probably will have American backing because America always backs oil countries no matter what happens. Like for example, when Pakistan got nukes in 1971, America backed it even though it was a tolerable risk. The same thing will happen in the Middle East with Saudi Arabia. So Iran's nuclear program is really threatening.
Yeah, and see the thing about we don't know, like, even if they get to a nuclear bomb, like they don't have to disclose it, right? We got out of the agreement. Like we don't know how many bombs Israel has, even though there are reports that they were ready to use it in the 6-day war, right? So Iran could have a nuclear bomb within this year or next year, and they wouldn't have to disclose it until they use it, right? So either like Mossad comes out says that Iran has a nuclear bomb, or like Saudi intelligence comes out says it. So it's kind of getting very tense in the Middle East. It could lead out to a lot of conflicts and possibly war. I see it happening under Biden's administration or his first term.
Yeah, I completely agree, or half agree at least. I don't think it'll be as dangerous as you say, but I think that's all we have for us today. We've talked about a lot, and especially with foreign news. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure to follow us on YouTube, like and comment as always, and hit that subscribe button, will you?
And
And
remember, wherever you guys are watching, always buy
Yes,
Dogecoin.
please.
oh gosh,
Pump it up for me.
oh boy, yeah. I mean, if you can pump up check for me to gain more money out of it, I'd be happy with that. But yeah, that's all for us. We'll see you guys next week.